There's a large Hmong population in this state, and a lot of the younger kids don't know their own history. And then because we are here, we are part of this community, there's still a lack of understanding of how we got here. I want to take my skill as a painter to kind of tell that story. My name is Cy Thao. I'm a painter. I took a detour and became a legislator for 8 years. And retiring this year, and then also on the side I do some business, but painting is what I want to do, and it's what I continue to do, and it's kind of what drives me, I think. I was born in Laos, and my dad took part in helping the Americans during the Vietnam War. And after the war, the Americans left, we realized we had to leave too, and we left Laos. We ended up in the refugee camp in Thailand for 5 years, and we came to this country. The whole series covers the history in China and in Laos, and then our life here in the US. Originally, I started out, I want to tell the story. I said, let's do 10. And when I started painting 10, the story just kind of grew. I figured 50 would be a good number, and it'll have a good body of works. But I found out 50 is a little bit too many for most galleries.
So the MIA is a museum that's known for telling the world's sort of story of art. Having embraced contemporary art in the last year, I can't imagine telling this story without an important piece, or many, of Hmong American artworks. And so it's wonderful that Cy has told this story in such a dramatic way, in such a complete cycle of paintings. And it seems self-evident to me that this work would become part of our permanent holdings and be able to tell the story for generations to come.
The ones at the MIA, the 9 pieces that were showcased, has more to do with Laos and the war and the refugee experience. A lot of folks ask me, it's a big series, it's 50 pieces. It took me 5 years, from research to completing the last piece. And I came up with the idea to paint this series when one night, partying at school, right? I saw it was hot, I put some water on my face, and I saw myself in the mirror. I'm like, geez, who am I anyway? So I was at that stage where I was searching for myself. I had that yearning to learn about who I am and where I came from. And so I went on this path, and I found all these stories. And so that led me to use my skill as a painter and paint these stories of myself and where I came from. A lot of research went into these series. Traveled 3 different countries, talked to countless people, read tons and tons of books. Leaving Laos is already scary enough. And when you get to the river is the border between Thailand and Laos. To cross the river is very tough, because a lot of the Hmong they lived in the highlands, so they're not used to water. They don't know how to swim. And when we got to the river, my dad hired these guides. And so there was 7 of us, not to go together, but to go in small groups. My brother and sister went first. And then I went by myself. I was about 3. I remember they putting me on a boat. They brought me to the side of the road, and a bus came, and they put me in the bus. And when I got in the bus, my mom and my 2 brothers were in the bus. And so and then the bus took us to the refugee camp. And there we waited for a week before my dad showed up. So my dad was the last guy. It's a little scary to have the whole family split up and to end up 3 years old and you're trying to escape. A lot of my paintings it's not so much the paint on canvas. The ideas behind it is a lot bigger. Each piece talks about some kind of feeling in there, either injustice or betrayal. In a way, it's almost like a movie on canvas. It tells stories. As a kid in the refugee camp, I didn't have a lot of things. You know, most kids in this country don't have to worry about food. But I remember worrying about food every day. I mean, where are we gonna get food? No, and I remember my dad taking us to the rice field, and we hunted rice rats, you know, to supplement the food because there just wasn't enough. In the refugee camp, we drew a lot in the sand. So we would just pick a stick and start drawing in the sand. And a lot of times it was of war scenes, and it was always of almost a bird's eye view and seeing the whole thing. And so that style kind of stuck with me. And you know, the painting is very childlike and very direct to the point of what the story is about. Because the story itself is so, I think if it was realistic, it would be so gruesome. That would be very, very tough for the viewer to see or to even look at. And so I paint it in a childlike way to make it easier to digest. You know, there's one piece that is very, very hard for me. And it's the piece, it shows a picture of two guys digging their own graves with a guy, the gun pointing to him. Two of my uncles were killed that way. After the war, when there was no law and order, the guy with the most guns becomes the law and order in that area. And so a lot of times there's old grievances. And so there's payback time. And two of my uncles, basically, they were accused of being communists. And that happened a lot right after the war. As someone whose family were part of that, it was very emotional for me to paint that piece. In 1980, we came to this country, and we woke up that morning and we opened the door and there's all these snow. We didn't know what it was. And so I took a spoonful of snow and ate it to test what snow was, right? And I realized it was just ice. We knew what ice were, and so that was my first introduction to Minnesota, eating dirty snow. The last piece of the series, and the style is very similar to the tapestry that a lot of the Hmong ladies sold in the refugee camp, and the style is very narrative, and so I took that style, and so I pay homage by painting a tapestry that's to show where people end up because of the Exodus. After I graduated from college, I wrote down on a piece of paper, and I said, one of my goals is, in 5 years, I want to have a show at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts or the Walker. You know, naively, I wrote that down, right? Never in my wildest dream I ever thought that an institution like the Minneapolis Institute of Arts would buy all 50 of them.
Minnesota Original is made possible by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.